And we continue learning Dirshu Mishnah Brura Hilchos Netilas Yadaim. Once again, beginning a new Siman, Siman Kuf Samoch A, which the Mechaber coins as Din Oises Saracha V'Reitzalecho. One, he uses the bathroom and he wants to eat, so we have a convergence of two types of Netilas Yadaim. He's washing his hands after the bathroom, he's washing his hands before he eats. How do we deal with this? It says in the Mechaber, Sif Aleph Oises Saracha V'Reitzalecho, so he uses the bathroom and he wants to eat. Yitol Shtei Pamim. He should wash two times. Ala Rishayna, the first time, beracha ashar yatzar. First time he says ashar yatzar. Vala shniya. On the second washing, bavarich al netilas yadaim. Let's say he only wants to wash one time. Pour one time. Umishav sheif. Rub your hands together. Yavarich ashar yatzar. And then when you're drying your hands, Yavarich al Netilas Yadaim. Says the Mishnah Brura Sivkatan Aleph. Hoi says Rachav. Someone who uses the bathroom. Kosav Bishala. Zakt Eliga Shala Kodesh Chladam Yivdai Gatzel Ifnois Koidem Netila. One should always make sure to check himself. Do I have to use the bathroom before he washes his hands? Before Asudav Chen Kosav V'Seder Hayoim. So what do? Yitol Shtei Pamim. You wash your hands two times, Sivkatan Beis. Explains the Mishnah Brura why. Says Mishnah Brura, explaining B'Shem Da'achrayim the obvious question. Why don't you just wash one time? Two brachos. You wash your hands, they're clean, so make ashar yatzar, make al Netilas Yadaim, and everything should be fine. Says Mishnah Brura, you know why you shouldn't do that? Because have a hefsek bin a netila liberachasa. Because then you have a hefsek, you have a severance, you have a separation between the al netilas yadayim, between the washing of your hands and the bracha of al netilas yadayim. Okay, so says Mishmur, let's do the opposite. Let's first say al netilas yadayim yatzar, and then ashar yatzar. You have an issue, the opposite. Have a hefsek bin berachas netila. Now you have a hefsek between the bracha of al netilas yadayim to your bracha of hamaitzi and your bread. So you have an issue whichever way you do it. And the shartzi and the bottom of your sifkin and beis reminds us that what's the reason why we want to make the hamaitzi in closest proximity to al netilas yadayim. You want to make sure that the al netilas yadayim is in close proximity. Take your bracha netila to your hamaitzi. So continues the Mishnah Brura. Okay, so I have a third option. Wait to make your ashar yatzar till after you eat the bread. That's also not good, says Mishnah Brura. When you use the bathroom right away, you have to make the bracha of al ashar yatzar. And one is not supposed to delay it so much. So continues Mishnah Brura, quoting Achrayim, Magen Avram Graz Chayot Never Chayim, Yad Avram, and not like the Eliyah Rabbi the Tzach Lizar, Shalita B'Pam Arishayin Netila Gemura. Do not wash your hands a full netila the first time. V'rak ma'at, wash it a little bit mishum nekiyos. Because again, the first bracha you're going to make is what? Ashar yatzar. For the ashar yatzar, you just got to make sure your hands are clean. You don't need all the halachas of al netilas yadayim. So wash your hands a little bit mishum nekiyos. Tilavachi, because if not, if you wash them fully, you're going to run into an issue. Why? If you pull or that full revius, like we said so many times, is optimal. Your hands are tahor right now. Then you can't make a bracha on the second netila. So this is going to be the rare scenario where you should not wash with a lot of water. Says the Mishmur. There's many poskim that hold. The ashar yatzar lav yazik and berachas netila hamaitzi. Many poskim hold that lamaisa you're allowed to make the ashar yatzar between the netila and hamaitzi. Why? It's all part of the process. It's part of the process. It can't be a hefsek. That we'll see. That's the heter to ask for the salt. That's the heter to say that you forgot to feed the animal before you eat. And therefore, Let's say you poured a lot of water on your hands, l'shem netilah achila, and you know you're about to have your bread. What should you do? The opposite of what we said. Then you bar netilah yadayim, and then ashar yatzar. Tiyeshlis v'chal paiskila, and rely on those poskim. V'odin lachatchilim ayakashla lital shtei netilos. You don't have a lot of water. Yital achas, wash one time. So lamaisa, you're allowed to wash one time a lot of water. Do your Netilas Yadaim. Be saimech l'ashar yatzar is not a hefsek, and then make the hamoitzi. Cause of Magen Avraham Moises Rachavem Zasuda, which we learned in the previous halacha. Wash one time, make Netilas Yadaim. Like we saw in the previous siman, that if you use the bathroom for Gedailah in the middle of a Suda, you have to wash your hands with a beracha of Netilas Yadaim. Now there we didn't mention, but wait, what do you do with ashar yatzar? So it says Magen Avraham, wash one time, and you say Netilas Yadaim, and then ashar yatzar. Because you don't have to make a new amaitzi in that case. So everyone will agree to make the Netilas Yadaim first, and then the ashar yatzar. Now it was parenthetically mentioned, and really as an addition to the previous year, that many gedolim paiskim hold that the whole previous year, if you use the bathroom for gedolim in the middle of a suda, that we said you have to wash your hands and you have to make a new Netilas Yadayim, is only if you're going to eat more bread. So it's more relevant. We said how many people don't do this, and the Chazon Ish yesterday taught us not to be meichad, but lemaisa, if you're eating at the end of the Suda, if you use the bathroom towards the end of the Suda, then you're not going to have more bread. Then it's the yatzar of Chaim, and he said as well, in such a scenario, you would not make a beracha. It's only if you're going to be having more bread in the meal. An important caveat. V'ayin Mashak Esamnu, says the Mishnah Berurah, look what I wrote, but Siman Kov Samach Dalid, Sif Braze, B'Mishnah Berurah. And we continue with Sif Katin Gimel, says Mishnah Berurah Lachash Shafach. Rata Alay Mardaim Berachas Asher Yatzar, Kodem Shegi Ezman Berachas Netilas Yadaim. After you pour a little bit of water, make the ashar yatzar. Before you become obligated in Netilas Yadaim, because you didn't pour enough water, your hands are not clean, not tahar yet. He says we explained. At that point, as we've learned so many times, the Netilas Yadaim did not finish yet. Therefore, you can make the ashar yatzar, but not Netilas Yadaim. And afterwards, you pour again to purify the first waters, and then dry them. What do you mean? Asked the Mishnah Berurah. We learned that you have a big problem. If you only wash one time, then you touch your hands, you're making each other tamei. And then we learned that it's not going to help to pour second waters because your hands are tamei from the first waters. You pour them on the same time. That you pour it all together, and therefore you're allowed to rub your hands together. Kasu achrenim till the done. Then I get a little revias v'asachas al kolyad v'yad. We pour a full revias. Imkein nigmar take of Netilas Yadayim. V'raya levarach on Netilas Yadayim. So if you pour a full revias, then you're out the creek, because at that point you can't. That point you're already tar, and therefore you can already make Netilas Yadayim. V'imkein berachas asher yatzar havi hefsek bein netilah beracha. V'yosher toiv lasted by from a rishon v'skol Shulchan Aruch. Not to wash with a lot of water. So far we've learned two ways of doing this. Number one, don't wash with a lot of water. Make the ashar yatzar, then wash with the sufficient amount of water. Make Netilas Yadayim, and then hamaitzi. If you washed with a sufficient amount of water the first time, you poured with a full revias, then you make Netilas Yadayim, followed by ashar yatzar, followed by your hamaitzi. Before we call it a day, let's see the Dirshu's over here. Dirshu comments. There we go. Says the Dirshu note number 1 in Siman Kof Samachay that it's going to be a hefsek to make the ashar yatzar. Says the Dirshu number 1. Says Mezalmin also until you can be mafsek between the two pourings. You're not chayiv yet. Still, it's considered a hefsek. And we continue over here. Dirshu note number 2 points out the chiyuv comes right away. When you use the bathroom, you should not delay in making the ashar yatzar. If one is on the road and he wants to wait 10 minutes, as we have learned, there's a ma'ila say tfilas haderech to make it into a beracha smucha lechaverta, which means you make a beracha followed immediately by tfilas haderech. So you use the bathroom, and then you want to wait a few minutes because you want to say tfilas haderech with the ashar yatzar. What do? Says Rachaim Kanievsky, in such a scenario, that is mutter. Again, you're only supposed to not delay your asher yatzar if there's for no reason. But if there's a reason, then you are allowed to. So we said that you should not wash your hands the first time a complete netilah, like we learned in Siman Dalid. If you don't have a complete kli, then it will work to get rid of the ruach ra, and as well without the koyach gavra. And now that's going to be the simplest eitzah. That what? The first time you wash your hands, if you use the bathroom, just don't use a cup. And don't pour it on your hands. Just take a little bit of water, you clean off your hands, then you go out of the bathroom, you make your ashar yatzar, and then you pour with a cup, and then you make your hamaitzi. The minhagay, what did Rav Vosner do in such a scenario? He would wash his first hand just until his fingers. He wouldn't wash the whole hands, and only afterwards would he wash the rest of the hands. Erlet Zion says, as we've seen, you can't wash straight from the faucet, as we just explained, because it's not considered a kli. Therefore, the way to do it is, and this is the simplest eitzah, some Zaman Arbach Lamaisa did this as well. After using the bathroom, you wash straight from the faucet without a cup, and then afterwards, you'll wash with a cup to make it on Netilas Yadaim. Continues the Dirshu over here, that b'diavad, if you wash with too much water the first time, then you're allowed to make Netilas Yadaim followed by ashar yatzar. Says Dirshu number 4, the Chazon Ish writes that he is a mekel to wash one time, make Netilas Yadaim, and then the ashar yatzar. See, Medina Van Hagais, they write that is what the Chazon Ish did. He washed not so much water, made the ashar yatzar, then washed and made the Netilas Yadaim. Rav Moshe Schneider was amazed that he saw one time the Chavetz Chaim went out from the bath. He washed his hands one time. He made the beracha on Netilas Yadaim. He dried his hands. Then he made ashar yatzar. Like we just said, that is not considered a hefsek. But again, we'll conclude that. One more Dirshu over here. Number 5 points out, if you're just urinating, then you're not going to have to make a beracha in the middle of the suit, as we've seen. That we'll just conclude, and we'll leave Sif Bees for tomorrow. That Lamaisa, the simplest eitzah is going to be, actually no, let's learn Sif Beis right now. Let's not be lazy. It's a little bit late, I understand, but let's learn Sif Beis. Says the Mechaber, it's a little bit of an unrelated halacha, and we'll do the quick halacha at the end. Rabbi Misubim Bisuda, Hagadol Netiyadah Techila, the Gadol should wash his hands first. Rosh Yagalita B'Achrayna, says Rosh, no, wash last. Why? Shal Hafsik, Shal Adaber, you don't want to have a Hafsik and not talk. Says the Mishnah Berurah Tzivkat Dalet Agadol Neitel Dechenu Kvoide. It's covered, let him wash first. But the Rosh Tzivkat and Hey was rugged to wash last. The Svir Leah Lay the shiny Bisman Atalmud Lechol Me Amisum and Shulchan B'fnei Atzma. In times of Shulchan Aruch have another own table. So the Gadol would wash his hands, sit down, and right away eat his bread. Avalach Shav. But says the Rosh, nowadays Shulchan Aruch Lechol Meschil Nechol B'Yachad. We have one table and we're all going to eat at the same time. The Hainu, what does that mean? Shachshana look kulam Yedim. They're all going to wash your hands. Then I go to Varacham Moitzi B'Kulam B'Rachasai, and he's going to be Moitzi everyone else with Tam Moitzi. Therefore, in that scenario, Toivi Yoiser, that the Gadol should be lit of Achronik, they shall have the Hafsik with the remain time, so it doesn't have a Hafsik. In Hamachaber, Sim Kuf Zachwav Hiskin, the Toivi Lizarim, Lahavsik Miladaber, Ein Shem Mishtabur, Vachinagu, Kol, Oilam says the Mishbur, Lachmer Bazeh, Vafilu B'Shia Harbi, Machmirim, Tivra Masham, Vafilu B'Shia Harbi, Machmirin, like the Ramavim, Cain, and therefore, Besudas Kedosh Harbim, assuming there's many people, and Yamtinu Kolam Suma Chitul Gadol Yisha Harbim Meod, Yamivali, they do remain time, Al Cain, Minanachash Gadol Yital Techila. The Gadol should wash right away. V'lo Yotzim Berechas HaMoitin, he should not be Moitin everyone else. El Yavarich Le'atzmoi. Checholech Avechem and Avsum Yilu Yedem Yavarich Le'atzmoi Le'Yisarch L'Shas Klal. And I guess this is where it comes from, that at a big Suda, they give everyone their own roles. So everyone does not have to wait. But of course, many people, let's say in the house, that the father is going to be making the hamaitzi for everyone at the Suda. In such a scenario, the father would wash last, so that he does not have to wait between washing, as he is the one to make the bracha. And we'll end with Dirshu note number 8 that says, there's also a chash. What do you mean the rest of the family, they're going to wash first? What about the fact that they might talk? So the Sharatzin Kuf Be'al says, regarding Ma'im Achraynim, we start for the Katan, Misham Sheish, Hefsik Shal Gado, Afshikam Katan is a Hefsik. Like we just explained, that's the Iker. So it's true. Could be the other people that talk might talk, and and there might be other types of Hatzekim, but the one making the beracha, that is the one that we are more makbid on. That's the reason why we just said that, let's say the father, if he's making that mitzvah, he should be the one to wash last. And as we pointed out, just again, to get the clear halacha from Siman Kuf Samachay, if someone is using the bathroom and then eating, the easiest yatzar, like Rosh Zalman, the first time you wash without a cup, make ashar yatzar, then wash again with the cup, and then make al Netilas Yadaim. If lamaisa you wash with a cup the first time, you should wash less than a revius. Make ashar yatzar, wash again, make al Netilas Yadaim. If by mistake you wash with more than a revius the first time, then we're saimech as the Chazon Ish did, and there's a story about the Chafetz Chaim as well, that will make the al Netilas Yadaim, we'll make the ashar yatzar, then we'll make a maitzi, and we'll pick it up from Siman Kuf Samach Vav in the next year, B'siyata Dishmaya.